What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily Podcast, powered by Anishar and Levine Accident Attorneys. It is my favorite day of the week. It is Wednesday. We're live with Mike Ryan. We got Peter Reeds lurking, ready to hop in here in the corner of the room. Two big commits to talk about. I see Mike mimicking the arms. Now that he's at his pre-pandemic weight, he wants to show off the guns himself. So he's doing the arm thing as well.
You just caught on to that? You're just so locked into camera.
I'm locked in, man.
I've been doing it for 2 months.
I've been watching Jacksonville State film all morning, man. I'm locked in at Liberty, so we're ready to rock and roll. Pete, hop in already. I'm tired of this black screen. Get in there.
What's going on?
Look at those peepers.
How you feeling? 2 commits.
Feeling good, man. Feeling great. Big, obviously, positions of need with the recent news at wide receiver. And even without that news, they needed to bring in, I think, another guy who was established at that position to come in. And you're losing a lot of production there, right? So excited about the young talent there. But I think that's a really exciting move there for CJ Daniels. And then safety, you're talking about a big step up in competition for Zachariah Poyser. But to me, a ton of upside, ton of production year one, and then the physical traits flash on film.
Yeah, let's start with CJ Daniels before we get into it, Mike. And I got a question. You don't have the computer, so you can't see. Our first comment here is from somebody named Sports.
Love him already.
With the ESPN logo saying CJ Daniels to Miami. Are you a real person, Sports? Please confirm in the comments that you're not a bot by saying something not body in the chat. But he is the first to report in this live chat that CJ Daniels is in fact going to Miami. So, Mike, I know you are familiar with CJ Daniels from the last go around. So tell what you think.
So CJ Daniels, this is a curious case in terms of managing expectations, because last year I was really excited and Miami was circling the wagons there. Miami was talking to a couple quarterbacks that were also talking to CJ. He ended up going to LSU, as if you can recall, Miami had so much ambiguity surrounding its quarterback position that you could understand that. Now, at Liberty, certainly a player to get excited about. Goes to LSU, big dip in productivity, but also there's a reason for that. He had injuries over there. So my excitement level naturally is not going to meet what it was a year ago because the Sox down a little bit. But when you look at Miami's receiving core, you have Zay Horton situation out there. You have a lot of productivity at that wide receiver position and tight end as well. You have a lot of yards that are on the table right now. You also need someone to move the chains, and maybe this new pivot post-injury is going to be a bit more intermediate for CJ Daniels. But right now, Miami's still talking to quarterbacks. We lost some talent. We need to make this an attractive destination. Your team is better today than it was yesterday with this acquisition. I'm curious your thoughts because you've been crunching the tape. What kind of player is he now? Because I know what kind of player he was, and that got me very excited.
Yes, let's go through the numbers real quick here, just a stat roll. 148 catches, his career numbers, and is a fifth-year player. Actually, entering his 6th year. He's class of 2020, so this is an old dude, which is important. 148 catches for his career, 2,434 yards, 16.4 yards per catch on the career, 21 touchdown catches. Like you mentioned, Mike, in 2023 with Liberty, with Caden Salter, who just announced he's going to Colorado with Coach Prime, 1,097 yards, 10 touchdowns, 19.4 yards per catch. So extremely explosive.
That's phenomenal.
Like you talked about. Goes to LSU. Big drop in production, 42 catches, still a starter, 42 catches, 480 yards, 0 touchdowns, the yard per catch dropping precipitously. One thing I like to do when we get these portal kids, Mike, is I go to the forums and I try to see what do LSU fans or whoever the team that's losing the player think about the departure? What's the story with the departure? How do they react to it?
How do they cope?
How do they cope?
Usually on the way out, that kid sucks. We didn't want him anyways.
And sometimes it's true, though, as we know from our side.
Yeah.
And I talked to some sources just at LSU, not necessarily on the staff, but just friends that follow the program close. And people were not happy to see him leave. They like the player, and he's reputed to be a really, really high character guy. And like you mentioned, that heel injury, a lot of people think it slowed him down. I'm going to a quote here from Brian Kelly. This is before Daniels entered the portal. This is when Daniels was on LSU. Kelly said, he's a great leader. He's a glue guy for us in terms of consistency every single day, playing through a more significant injury than many people realize. He had a pre-existing condition, a heel injury that is almost a dislocation. So I don't know how he does it. He practices, we're careful with his practice during the week to get him to Saturdays. And then on Saturdays, he's so consistent blocking. He's our best blocker, precise with his route runnings, and he's got strong hands at the point of attack. So 2 things jump out. First of all, hopefully the injury is not something that he's going to have here.
I don't think I've ever heard Brian Kelly speak like that about anybody. That is very uncommon for Brian Kelly. A heel injury that's bordering on a dislocated heel, which sounds excruciating, certainly something difficult to play through. I think if this is a less explosive player, that is one major reason why. Think about what your body does when you try to plant into the ground and explode. There's a lot of tension going on that heel. One of the things that popped off outside of just Brian Kelly being effusive in his praise is downfield blocking. Miami had a good amount of that with their wide receivers this year. Unfortunately, our running backs didn't get into the second level all that much as we anticipated. But when they did, the downfield blocking was there. This is one of the things that Sam Brown, while he was dipping in form on other parts of his game, was usually valuable for Miami. Xavier Restrepo willing. So I'm curious your thoughts here, because we're getting a good locker room guy. This isn't your typical LSU malcontent because they've had a type enter the portal. This guy seems to be the antithesis of that. And I don't know you to be a doctor, but is this something that he can bounce back from, or did he make his body worse by trying to tough it out?
That's the scary thing. And look, we checked it out. It was not a secret. So this was something that was evaluated. Obviously,
lead hair flip right there.
It was getting in my way. So Miami felt comfortable with the injury because they knew about it. It was not like a surprise thing. Obviously, Kelly's talking about it. So we'll see on how that goes. I've not heard anything negative about it, that it deflated his value in any way. Character-wise, I'm just a big believer that in the portal, you have to bring in guys that you feel good about the character. That's the KJ Osbornes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The D Delaney's. These are not sexy names. These are guys that are in the pros still, right? That to me is a very important thing in the portal, is to just make sure you're not going backwards in terms of your culture. You're trying to build a culture, but then you bring in guys that are malcontents elsewhere. Maybe they're mercenaries, and they're not there for you. I mean, look, Sam Brown, he had, like you said, he had some effort plays. He's not here right now practicing. So, you want to bring in somebody who's going to be part of the team, part of the culture. It's a 2020 kid. So he's entering his 6th year of college. He's a veteran. He's going to have good hands. He's a good route runner. You hope the explosiveness comes back. But the sad thing is, and we'll talk, this is the next part we got to talk about, is a guy in Isaiah Horton who we like. This seems to be a replacement for Horton.
Yeah, the Isaiah Horton thing was a real blow. It felt like a punch to the stomach when that happened. Zay was one of the real good stories on this roster, and a testament to the development of that offensive staff. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions, Uncle Luke, on the development at that position. I think you can point to certainly Restrepo as a really prized piece and testament to that development. But Isaiah Horton was a guy, we had all sorts of questions about the wide receivers coming in. We had 2 questions, secondary and wide receivers. Wide receivers put that thing to bed pretty quickly. Now, the quarterback certainly helped, but Isaiah Horton was probably the biggest piece in why Miami's wide receiver production was what it was. I'm not talking about, clearly, we had an All-American in Xavier Restrepo. We didn't have any question marks about Xavier Restrepo. We had question marks about Isaiah Horton. Can he step up? And he did. It's unfortunate that the last thing in my mind is him not catching a slant that proved pivotal. I'm still hopeful that Miami can work it out, but this does feel like a replacement there. I wish Zay the best. It was a cool moment on senior day. I believe it was senior day when we honored his dad. And it felt like the vibes were good. I was a little puzzled by it because I hadn't heard that, but that
was FSU game.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Well, thank you for the correction. Beautiful peepers again. That's a bummer. And if you tell me right now in a vacuum, I can have CJ Daniels coming back from injury where you have questions about him, or Isaiah Horton, I think most Canes fans would take Isaiah Horton.
Yeah.
So maybe this is not the Zay Horton replacement. Maybe this is just, we need someone to move the chains. And Miami's certainly talking to some pretty big names out there. Some names appear to be coming off the board, which is a bummer. Some names still in play. So we'll see what the deal is there. And keep in mind, we're still early in this process. And it's so dumb that this window was opened up during the college football playoff. It was a problem that literally everybody saw coming. And it's causing unrest in some places. I'd say generally, this is going about as well for these playoff programs as it can possibly go. I don't think Miami would have the defections it had if it were in the CFP. So it speaks to the good cultures, and everything's easier when you're winning there. But back to my original point, if this is an apples to apples, I still would prefer Zay Horton. So I'm hopeful that this isn't just Zay's out and Daniels is in.
I agree with you. There's some that disagree and would prefer Daniels. I agree with you. Just kind of the hometown. You develop this guy. He's got more in him. Horton. I think that.
And you literally just saw him take a leap.
Yeah, I think you saw it. You saw the whole process. I think there's more there. I think he can be more of a downfield threat than we saw on the field. You saw a little bit against Texas A&M. But it's kind of a bummer. But listen, college football is the way it is now. I like that we're moving fast and not just waiting around and getting caught looking stupid. Wide receiver is a position where I think it's a buyer's market. There's a lot of good wide receivers on the market. So, you can replace production, and you still got your young guys. You got to see what they got. You got to see what JoJo Trader's got. You got to see what Nikar's got, but they're not physically what Horton is. Daniels gets you a little closer to that body type wise.
Yeah, we need bigger guys, no doubt. It's not like we lost some big size that's going into the draft process this year, but you look at the wide receiver core, and it's good to have a big body. And if this guy's dependable, Brian Kelly seems to think that he was dependable. Certainly at Liberty, although they seem to be playing a different sport there against different competition. He's shown that he can be hugely capable there. And maybe depending on who the quarterback is, Miami may do some more intermediate stuff. If it's Emory, that's really where his bread is buttered. And that's a pretty good weapon if Emory is indeed the quarterback.
Yeah, we got lots to talk about there. Chat's going on fire right now. Sports is not beating the AI accusations. It says BSBN. His logo BSBN is powered by AI. So I don't know if that's just sarcasm or if that's just reacting to what I said as an AI. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, a lot of questions in the comments here about.
Talk to me about the safety, because I got really excited with the clips that were out there. Just the body type reminds you of some great Miami safeties. Not to get too crazy with the comparisons there, but what really excited me was what publications like 247 had written about this guy, that many inside the SEC were targeting this player, and they actually had him pegged for a future All-American, which is pretty crazy. He looks the part. Now, you gotta view it through the prism of lesser competition, but the fast twitch, the ability to really deliver a hit, the instincts, that stuff does kind of translate. Foot speed, we'll see. But Miami certainly needed help, and this is a guy that I understand he was playing lesser competition, but you could slide him right into Miami last year and he'd be a starter.
Yeah, no question about that. I think it would have helped us last year. Certainly going to help us going forward. 3 years of eligibility. Talking to sources around the program, they mentioned, to your point, on just the athletic traits, right, that cross whoever you're playing. It doesn't matter if you're FCS or G5 or Power 5. When you're jumping up in the air, they get measured the same way. When you're running a straight line, it gets measured the same way. So what we know about this player, on his visit, he was 6'1.5", 195. Official measurements at University of Miami. So there's a guy with size for the safety position.
That's what you like at the safety position.
No question about it.
You build it in a lab. You like that.
41.5-inch vertical leap. So the explosiveness that you see tackling, breaking on the ball, he's got that. Free safety. He was actually coached by Pete, someone I know because you watched him in high school next to me, which is Terry Jefferson from Booker T, who was at Miami and then coached.
The plug, they call him. Terry the Plug Jefferson.
Is that where you got it?
No.
That was your nickname back in the day.
Just his nickname.
All right. Well, Terry Jefferson coached at Miami very recently, then at Jacksonville State. So, connection there. So he knows what it looks like. And I'm sure he gave an honest appraisal of Poyser and how he fits with what that level of DB is supposed to look like. Poyser, a lifelong Miami Hurricane fan. You saw in the commitment announcement, he had the gear, right? What are you laughing about?
A lifelong Miami Hurricane. Like, I read that, like, he's his dream is to play for Miami. This boy watching Randy Shannon and Al Golden teams thinking, man, I got to be there. This is a program that's got such prestige. It's just funny because we've aged out. Yeah, I grew up. Miami was a place to be. These guys, God bless them. If they come over here and say it's their lifelong dream to come to Miami, you hold them near and dear.
That's how you know it's real, man. He was wearing the clothes, and now obviously he committed. And then when he did the commitment, he put the pictures up when he was a kid. He's from the Ocala area, like by the Villages. So Gator country typically, but is a Miami Hurricane fan. Gators wanted this guy bad. SEC schools, like you mentioned. Just pulling up the quote from the 247 article. This is a SEC personnel staffer saying, and this is before Miami was even in the picture. This is right when he jumped in the portal. He said, the Poyser is one of the top young safeties in the nation and has all-American type potential. I went back and looked at the film on this guy coming out of high school, because when guys get overlooked, I like to say there's a reason for it, right? There's usually a story behind why they get overlooked,
especially these days with the internet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So with he's from Wildwood, Florida, which is not a football power, right? He was a receiver.
This is a prime opportunity for D Money to go off the path here.
I don't know much
Are we
about.
gonna get
I don't know
a
much about
tangent?
Wildwood. I don't know much about Wildwood.
You know a lot about the Villages.
They got the same problem. So the Monkeys are in the comments.
I thought you were going to talk about the VD.
Well,
that
so
runs
you know me too well. So what happened was last week I went on the tangent about the monkeys, the wild Florida-born monkeys in Silver Spring State Park. And I was saying it's by Orlando because I'm going to go there when I go to this game. And everybody in the comments were like, no, it's actually closer to Ocala. It's more north. So it's actually closer to where this guy, Poyser, lives, the herpes monkeys. And Villages, which he also lives close to, is the herpes old people, right? It's the retirement village.
It's one of the VD capitals of the planet.
So if you're dealing with wild monkeys or the elderly in that region, watch out for venereal disease. But very talented football players. I watched the tape. He played a lot of wide receiver in high school.
Thank you for that PSA. Can we put the more you know graphic behind that? If you're in that Ocala area, watch out for the herpes, be it with wild monkeys or the seniors.
Everything in between, I'm assuming, is going to be cleaner. But the wide receiver, he was playing wide receiver there, did a nice job. It wasn't like a dynamic passing offense, so he didn't have crazy numbers. He wasn't recruited as a wide receiver, but you can see his athleticism. Also played basketball, 12-point score, rebounded the ball, got some steals. You love
those two-sport guys.
Of course. And then when you switch into safety, you see the athlete, but when you go back and look, why was he not a four-star player? It's because he wasn't playing safety, going to all these camps and doing that thing. So a lot of times when you uncover these guys like a Quinyon Mitchell, he's from Florida, went to Toledo, then the first round to the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the best young corners in the NFL. How did he get away from Florida? Basketball player, played a lot of receiver, those kind of things. Not that far from actually where Poyser's from. So it's a similar background with these uncovered gems, and it explains why we're excited about someone from Jacksonville State. Because people in the comments are like, "Oh, we should be worried about big schools." Well, didn't you just see the Heisman propaganda with
also, this isn't a new concept. Like, big programs have been finding gems that would even sit out an entire year for their ability to make it to a big program. This is a tried and true tradition. Pete, I'm curious your eval on this player, because D Money just got me even more gassed up. I'm wondering if you're going to pour gasoline on that fire.
No, I like it. I mean, I like the length, I like the twitchiness, and you look at the other schools that were involved there.
That's a pretty solid indicator.
Yeah, well,
like, you don't trust our scout, but
like, if it doesn't work out, what are you going to say? Well, they didn't go get one of the top two safeties in the portal, and other schools weren't. Like, at that point, you say, well, he wasn't developed, right? That's what the story would be at that point. But like, you want them to go get top DBs. You still have some work to do. Got to go get some corners, another safety maybe. But this is a great start.
Miami.
And then, by the way, sorry, not to go back and not to cut you off there, Mike, but on CJ Daniels too, just something to note. He had 8 catches for 79 yards a couple years ago in that Fiesta Bowl game against Oregon, and there was a blowout game, but a lot of that damage was done. A lot of that was done early in the game when it was still a tight game there. I think he's a chain mover, man. I think that's really what you're getting there. But no, I really like the Poyser pickup. It's like, how do you say you don't like it, right? Is he the end all be all savior, solution to all the issues back there? No, of course not. But he's a piece, and that's a step in the right direction.
The headline for me here is Miami recognized that it had weaknesses that it needed to fill. They moved swiftly to address them, and they addressed them with desirable commodities. Proven, these are not high school kids that you're leaning on. Like, they have productivity in their past. Poyser was a very productive player, and Daniels, maybe not so much last year, though we provided the context, has shown you what his ceiling can be, and his ceiling is damn good. So while everybody was freaking out for about 72 hours over there as other moves are being made, Miami is keenly aware of what their weaknesses are, moving swiftly to address them, even the stuff that you don't know about. Trust me, Mario read the tweets. Nobody has, we mentioned this on a previous episode. Every time the fan base was up in arms about something, Mario addressed it in that offseason. This is now becoming one of his strong suits. So no one has his finger on the pulse better than him, and he and the collective are moving forward, and I'm happy so far. But there's still some big fish out there.
Yeah, by the way, so safety was a huge need. We all know it. This is the free safety that Miami targeted. They could still take a boundary safety, a more physical guy. Keep an eye on the Washington State safety. Pete, pull up his name at the edge of the portal. I heard he's a guy that Miami likes. This is not the only safety that Miami could take. And, of course, they're after multiple cornerbacks. A couple more stats I want to say about C.J. Daniels before we move off him, the wide receiver. 2,000, this is all from sources at the University of Miami, things they liked about this guy, on top of the things we've talked about. 2,257 career snaps, 67% contested catch percentage, so replacing Horton in that fashion. Pete, I know you've talked about that as well. 734 yards after contact, so the physical running, and then 46 career wins, which you don't associate with receivers, but this is a guy who's been around winning programs. He has winning habits, and you see that reflected by the way coaches talk about him. So these are all things that Miami liked. And if you lose an Isaiah Horton, which again, we hope doesn't happen, but is very, very much possible, you want to replace some of that contested catch ability, some of that run after catch ability, some of that physicality, and some of that serious professional mindset. But Pete, I just sent you a tweet.
Yeah, I saw it.
Pete, I need your investigative skills. Can you head over to IG and do some sleuthing?
Oh, is there some IG follows
There's
going on?
Some IG. All right, you have them prioritize D-Money's task.
I already have that tweet. I mean, I had that tweet ready before you sent it to me, but I'm a little skeptical of the source because that's the only person I could see that had it. And again, it's not too difficult to say what he's saying is true, but Dean Blevins,
Big Dean Blevins, the OKC KWTV sports director, WWLS radio, Sooners, Cowboys, Thunder, and all golf 24/7, says, for those wondering why we've insisted Sooners get John Mattier immediately now, OU's new OC Ben Arbuckle is a candidate to become the next head coach at Washington State. If he were to leave, Mattier could go back to Wazoo or take big money bag from Miami.
All right.
Big, scary Miami with the big money bag that's always looming.
So that's a very interesting development. That's certainly something to monitor. Wazoo, per that tweet, certainly re-enters the conversation after Mattier did the hard part and broke up with them. But the other thing that I just did some sleuthing and confirmed is John Mattier is now following CJ Daniels on Instagram and also Zay Horton, which is a curious one.
I mean, look, you'd have to think because he's there in OU now. He's there in Oklahoma. You'd have to think he's there because his former OC, Ben Arbuckle, is there now. You'd have to think that if Arbuckle was already talking to Washington State, he would know that conversation.
It also is a monkey wrench that they didn't anticipate. Everything that I've heard about John Mattier is this thing is already stretched out well longer than he wanted to take it. I heard that this was going to be a 48-hour deal. So I also heard that pretty much the parameters, once he put the no contact in there, OU was feeling great about it, and then the signature never came. And the longer this drags out, the better Miami is in position. And it just shows you. Now, the end game may just be he ends up at OU. He's on his visit right now. They could be laughing right now in a cigar-filled room celebrating. But the fact that it's taken this long shows you exactly how hard Miami is battling right now. It's admirable because, look, when you think about John Mattier, replacing Cam Ward, been there, done that, admirable. Different out there in Washington State than coming over here to Miami. Direct comparisons to a Heisman finalist. I happen to know that's not the most attractive piece to this. Yes, you can look at what Cam Ward did, and there's plenty of good. Yeah, Cam Ward came from Washington State, turned himself to a top 10 pick. It's difficult to keep that hanging around you. All right, those are big shoes to fill. Those are direct comparisons that everybody is going to make. Now, they're going to directly compare Emory to Cam Ward. I'm just saying, I'm sure those comparisons got old to John Mattier, and he wasn't so crazy hot on the idea of once again following in Cam Ward's footsteps. That to me is not something that they can't build a bridge over and get over. Certainly NIL helps in that respect as well. But Miami is going to have to put together an awfully competitive package to dissuade Mattier from not just an offensive coordinator that we know him to love, but also look at that roster on OU. A lot of these resources are now being directed and diverted to this quarterback position because that's what can save this portal for them right now. And a coach that needs a lifeline because this is bleep or get off the pot time for Brent Venables. You
got to fix the O-line, you got to fix the receivers, and then you got to pay the quarterback. So there's only so much money to go around. That's the concern I would have. So big Dean Blevins here. He's saying,
why do we keep making him big? I have not seen the image of this.
He looks
man.
big. He looks like a big Dean.
He just looks like a normal sports director. He has a caricature of himself as his
Big Dean.
So Big Dean, a veteran. He says he's OKC, KWTV sports director, WWLS radio, Sooners, Cowboys, Thunder, and all golf 24/7. I believe him just off that. Seems to be a veteran out there in this world. He says Pine Bluff's Giovanni Gibson, was a receiver, announced his transfer to Sooners.
That's what the initials meant.
But then look at this.
UAPB.
UAPB.
I was wondering what that meant.
UAPB.
Pine Bluff. I recruited a kid from there.
But then look at this. So Big Dean says, who did OU beat to get him? OSU, not the Buckeyes. Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State, Cincinnati, and perhaps VTech. So Big Dean is basically saying that Oklahoma is not getting the prime time receivers. Now, to the point, you guys brought this up earlier. CJ Daniels, you're beating SEC. Auburn was in the mix. Ole Miss was in the mix. Same thing with Poyser. You're beating out all ACC, ACC teams. Oh yeah, it looks like they're going to get Singleton too. So that is to me what Big Dean is saying is, hey, we're not doing that good at receiver. And then you go flip to Casey Murdoch from Sooner Scoop.
He's doing some. D sent me a tweet from Big Casey Murdoch.
I don't know if he's big yet. You're saying big.
One?
I don't know if he's big yet.
Another big Casey.
Well, listen.
I don't know if he's big
To be
yet.
fair, I don't know who gave you the right to give the big nickname. That's my bit. I don't know if I would have given it to.
That's gimmick and French.
But anywho,
Dink the clown.
You got Big Casey Murdoch here, who has this GIF.
Oh yeah, so Mike, you're not even seeing this.
No.
So it's funny because you're the only
Flying
one.
blind right now.
You're the only one that could crack this code because did you watch Silicon Valley? You look like a Silicon Valley guy.
I like that show.
You look like a Silicon Valley guy. Pete,
What?
I know. Pete, do you know where Silicon Valley is?
Silicon Valley guy?
California.
There you go. But Pete's definitely not watching that show. If you're in the comments and you've seen that show, see if you can decipher. I see a young man in a plaid shirt or a button-down shirt staring out a window. He seems morose, looking out the window. You know the GIF I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
What does that GIF denote? Because the sadness.
Yeah.
Because Sooner Scoop posted this GIF an hour ago when this was supposed to be a celebratory day with Mattier on campus, looking out the window, morose. So again, read into what you will. Sooner Scoop's been these have been the folks saying nonstop, Mattier's going to Oklahoma. He's going to Oklahoma. This, I've seen my share of GIFs owning CanesInsight.com, 7 million posts and counting, which, by the way, if you're not signed up for CanesInsight.com, go to CanesInsight.com for free. We got breakdowns on Daniels with inside info, breakdowns on Poyser. And you see this GIF right here. There will be a lot different GIFs if John Mattier decides to go to Miami. They may not be safe for work. But they will be flowing on CanesInsight.com, 7 million posts and counting. Sign up today for free. Biggest Cane community on the planet.
By the way, it's Carrie Murdoch, not Casey.
All right.
Okay. That was my
Is he still big?
Dude, honestly, I haven't been able to find it. Oh, I think I found it.
So 18 hours ago, John Mattier on his IG said goodbye. A wonderful goodbye message to Wazoo. It's going to be plenty awkward if he ends up going back over there, but I'm sure they'd welcome him with open arms. But I heard that I had read from local reporters around the Pullman area that they had moved heaven and earth to put a very desirable NIL package in front of them. And I think it pretty much pales in comparison to what OU had in front of them. So John Mattier has spent the last 3 days hearing some crazy numbers going his way. Do you think he capitulates because he loves Arbuckle all that much and decides to go way down the ladder to scoop up that Wazoo. Like, I think that bread is baked. Like, I don't see him going back.
If I'm the Sooners, that's a complication that I just don't feel good about at all.
No.
With Arbuckle leaving. That's just the kind of thing that blows these things up. By the way, I got a comment here from Ghost and Yvonne Donaldson, our boy, saying Mike looks like he works the espresso machine at Islas Canarias. I don't think they call it an espresso machine at Islas Canarias with the Cuban coffee, but you are with your
white shirt would be dangerous
with
to
your
work
with your weight loss and just the renewed fitness. The Kendall, the Cubanness is playing up a little bit. I got to say, you got the chain on, you got the white tee.
Okay.
Showing off the watch. I'm seeing the Ruiz play up a little bit here with the renewed fitness.
Well, I appreciate it. Is this a thank you?
I'm just making a comment. It's Ghost and Yvonne Donaldson.
I thought the logical vine to grab from Ghost and Yvonne Donaldson was to tell the fine people about Islas.
Oh, I was going to get to that too, but I was being earnest about that. So, anyways, Pete, pull it up. We already know the number one Cuban restaurant on the planet. If you want people working the coladas that look like this gentleman right here, Islas Canarias Express, Dayland Mall, Dining Pavilion. The less refined call it a food court. The elevated call it the Dining Pavilion at Dayland Mall. The best Cuban restaurant on the planet, Islas Canarias. They got 7 different types of croquetas.
Do they have kimchi?
Believe it or not, they do.
That's wild.
They do. Korean and Cuban fusion. But listen, if you're a conservative person that just wants the classics, they got the classic ham. And they got, listen, if you are from Washington State and you're a vegetarian, you want to have the non-meat version, they got that too. All kinds of stuff at Islas Canarias. It is the number one Cuban restaurant on the planet.
Do you think John Mattier has ever had a croqueta?
He has not, because if he did, he'd be committed to Miami already.
Yeah.
So,
so have the meeting at the Dayland Dining Pavilion. If he gets on a bird and he leaves Norman, I can't possibly feel good about that if I'm a Sooner fan. We got to bring him to the Dayland Dining Pavilion and close this deal.
He's already known for having like thick legs. That's like what he's known for, because he squats 600 pounds. If he starts eating these Canarias, the thick legs will get thicker based on my experience with Cuban food and lower bodies.
Can I just break the fourth wall real quick?
Go ahead.
And because look,
was there a fourth wall in the first place?
I mean, you know how much I like John Mattier. I think he's the best quarterback available right now. I know the staff really loves Emory. I've heard whispers that they know who's available in the portal. They still rate Emory higher. So let's put that off to the side. But I'm a big John Mattier guy. For me, if Matier's available, that's one of those that you kind of throw caution in the wind and you figure it out because he's that good of a player. But if I may, I have to admit, dude looks like he was born to wear an Oklahoma uniform.
Oh, Mattier?
Yeah. Like, you picture him in that Oklahoma uniform, and I guess it's a little bit easier because the colors are a little similar to Wazoo, but kind of odd. We haven't had a quarterback with a hair flipping out of the helmet wearing that orange and green. Like, this dude looks like he is a mannequin wearing an Oklahoma Sooner uniform, right? And he's from the general area.
That's the question. Is he rural Texas, or is he Dallas, Texas? They're flashy.
Mm-hmm.
They spend money. There he is right there. I can't really see the picture, Pete. He's a little small there. He's in the weight room.
I'm trying to pull up.
This guy could fit into Miami, Mattier. He's got star potential.
I'm not saying he won't look great. Look, the guy works hard on his body. I'm pretty sure that guy would look great wearing anything. But the OU uniform, with his style of play, the hair flip, the grittiness, the legs, the 600-pound squats. I mean, he just kind of looks like he was built to wear that Sooner uniform. No,
listen, as the resident expert on hair flips, it can work here in Miami, Florida.
You got nothing on this though. Look at this.
Let's see. I can't even see it. So what we're looking at
I can picture
here,
it though. I probably have seen it.
Long
considering
flowing
my
locks,
Google history.
about to put on the Washington State helmet. He probably knew they were taking a picture when he did this. This
he
is
looks
not
like Mike Badgley.
He does look like Badge, who, by the way,
look good in that uniform.
And he had a great time in Miami. So, yeah, Mattier, Oklahoma, running around, getting chased.
He's going to have to run around a lot because they have to build up those trenches again. It is, look, I understand the argument that they can make, and this is the pitch that head coaches hear all the time when they consider bad programs, D. I'm not just going to take any job. I want to talk to them and hear what their plan is. And then they get buttered up by all these people saying, hey, here's our big plan. We're going to pay you a lot of money because we believe you're the answer because you're so great. Oftentimes those coaches come out saying, wow, they've got it figured out. They know they got a great plan. Their plan is to trust me fully and pay me a ton of money. So like, it's going to be a hard sell that John Mattier is probably presently encountering. And their plan right now is fully you plus that OC. Let's make some magic.
I have more sleuthing info. Sorry.
Great.
To cut you
Great.
off.
No. Real quick. I'll button up my
thought.
point. But so John Mattier is looking around. All right. I've hitched my wagon to my OC and I see my teammates and I see the lack of talent and I might actually regret, like I left for the comfort of Arbuckle, but I could have been comfortable back in Pullman. And my team would have been better in terms of wins and losses because Wazoo's schedule is light next season. That's part of their pitch, which is you can win big here. You can absolutely be in the Heisman conversation here. You can have a big record and be in playoff contention here with Wazoo. If I start looking really into the weeds, I'm like, this plan for OU isn't that great, even though it heavily revolves around me. Now, Miami culturally will hope it's a fit, because that is a bridge to cross. But man, there's a lot to like about Miami. You know you're not going to be running for your life over there. Trenches, super solid. And when you're solid in the trenches, it's hard to blow you out. You're going to be in meaningful games. You're going to have crunch time moments. You're going to have the ability to put the team on your shoulders and make a big time crucial play that is going to garner national attention. And you have proof of concept in pathway from Wazoo to Miami breed success. Now, Pete, you're sleuthing.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is only a Miami thing or he's just following other guys, potential pass catchers in the portal.
Yeah,
Zachariah Branch, Max Clare, the tight end from Purdue, Eric Rivers, who isn't a guy that Miami has talked to as well. But I did just follow him from Kane's Insight, so if he follows back, I'll let you guys know.
That's it? Okay, so
no, I'm saying it's not exclusive. It's not exclusive.
No, it's all over the place.
I think
he follows Jackson Arnold.
I think he's following other guys who are maybe in the portal too. I mean, I don't think it has. I don't know if it's alarming enough to say. Now, if he followed like Shannon Dawson, I don't know where. Then maybe it's.
Well, hopefully, as he tries to recruit those guys to OU, like you mentioned, Mike, it's going to be a tougher sledding, and it's really more about him saving everybody else's job, as opposed to a situation that's conducive to him. Because we're talking about Miami, Pullman, Dallas, Norman. I mean, we should be talking about New York City, which is where Cam Ward was after coming to Miami and playing behind what he calls those trench babies, you know? So to me, that's the sell. I'm sure that is the sell. It's been reported by On3 that is the message from Mario Cristobal to Mattier. So, we'll see. Oh, Alex Smith saying he said he followed CJ Daniels and Isaiah Horton just now. Is the timing of that make sense, or is he just following a ton of people? Pete, can you tell timing from your Instagram?
I think John Mattier is enjoying this part.
It's showing me as Zachariah Branch being the last one he followed. So
all right, so Zachariah Branch to the U. Is that what we're running with here?
Exactly
I think maybe what we can paint in our minds is he is presently listening to a pitch from OU, and he is so bored he is just scanning his IG
That's right,
and following guys to help prop him up because he realizes that he's the entirety of the NIL budget over there.
Is he liking Chonga pictures while on his Oklahoma visit? That would be the telltale sign. Is that? Can you tell from where you're at in Instagram?
You don't know how Instagram works.
I don't. I don't. I have a social media internet empire here, but I actually do not use Instagram. So I need to know. Can you tell if he's liking these pictures?
I still don't believe him when he says that. You got to have a burner somewhere.
I wish I did. I meet friends that I haven't seen in like 5 years.
I would love to tag you in photos.
I'm like, hey, when are you gonna have kids? And he's like, I got 3 of them. Are you not on Instagram? I post about them all the time.
There's the picture, the bigger picture, D.
Oh, there you go. I think it'll fit fine, man. I think he should be here, man. Oklahoma, it's a waste of time. Wait, real quick though, Mike, when this visit, we're talking about potential visits. There's a visitor on campus right now that when it was announced that he was visiting, I saw on Kane's Insight, 7 million posts and counting. I saw on Inside the U. Basically, every website was associating this player with you. And then we got Lauren. We got Lauren Concepcion talking about her primo here visiting. He said, "Don't get me excited. I know you're the most excited. What can you tell us about the fit of Concepcion with the Miami
I
Hurricanes?
mean, last week we mentioned him, and I feel like there have been a couple of opportunities, and to me kind of feels like a passing ships in the night scenario. I just don't know. Now, that's curious for me to say when he's literally in the portal and Miami has needs to fill. I know Miami internally has rated the player since high school. Like, look what he did as a freshman against Miami. He was one of the better players on the field. There's a lot to like there. Now, he's a player that they don't have the greatest things to say about him at NC State, but
which is not uncommon
No.
in these transfer situations.
no.
Jaden Daniels, I know when he left Arizona State, that staff
Remember what the teammates did to Jaden Daniels' locker.
right.
They trashed his locker, called him a quitter. They were pulling his nameplate off, and this guy went on to win a Heisman Trophy and pretty much dominate the NFL the second he stepped into it. So, yeah, these things hang around, and you have to keep in mind you're talking about 18, 19-year-olds. So, I don't know if Miami is going to end up being the destination. Like, for me, I don't know why. He just kind of feels like a
we
Coach
have
Prime
breaking
guy.
news here.
He
We
feels
have
like a Coach
breaking
Prime guy.
news. Hold on a second. You guys will love this one. This is.
I hope it's Concepcion of the
No,
year. So
it's not a commitment. It's not a commitment. I have to. I'm sorry. I have
this
to
is big.
interject here because
Always break into programming with big breaking news.
It's a quote that we have coming in from Tuscaloosa, as AD Greg Byrne is saying. Let me pull this one up here.
He's had a hell of a couple of weeks.
Alabama AD Greg Byrne called out schools for using promises of $1 million paydays to lure away our players. It is time for the Bama Nation to fight back. Bama.
Little old Bama. Ragtag Alabama that's been, abused while all the cheating is is running rampant around them. This AD flatly has pissed me off the last couple of weeks with a lack of self-awareness that is baffling to me. Well, we got to take a look at our non-conference schedule because that's why we got held out of the college football playoff. Mercer? Dog, what? Like, all your losses came in conference. What are we talking about here? And now these promises. NIL, it's so unfair. We're little old Bama. We're outgunned, outmanned. We need all sorts of help. We must pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and remind everybody that Alabama is finally willing to get into the paying for players game.
It's time for Bama Nation to fight back.
What is this? This guy is a clown, dude. I hope he knows that he's running bit.
You're not even seeing a picture of him right now. Look at a picture of him. This suit is absurd.
Dude,
what do you think about this suit?
I hope this guy said that with in jest, because if that guy,
No, they made it. The graphic says NIL fight.
NIL
Dude,
fight.
man.
Which Isaiah Horton, by the way, when he jumped in the portal, was immediately linked to Bama,
Right.
despite not being from Bama or have any ties to Bama. It's interesting how that
His
happened.
high school quarterbacks there. That's the tie.
Oh, I'm sure that's what Nakos was relying on when he made that connection there right off the top within minutes of Horton jumping in the portal. So, yeah, luring away Alabama. They're just mad they have to pay more now. They used to lure people away for 40 G's under the table. And now they got to lure them. They got to pay more to lure them away. So that's what they're upset about. Everything else is just BS.
I got my eye on you.
Saban,
I got my eye on you.
Herb says Saban owns a lake. Really? He owns like the whole lake? Is that true?
Man, he was the highest paid state employee in the state of Alabama.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. But whoever the best defensive lineman was on Alabama at any point was the second highest paid employee. And they weren't paying taxes on it either. So, that's how that works. But what else we got? Oh, Pete.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back to high school. Pull up our boy here yesterday. We're talking about Mattier. We're talking about Emory. We got to be talking about the next one. Luke Nickel, who on this show yesterday, I compared a couple runs he did. I'm like, hey, it looks like Tim Tebow running.
And then you said Jalen Hurts, and then you also said Cam
you love the
Warren.
Jalen Hurts
In
comment.
that was
like
Mattier.
a 2-minute
Mattier
span. It was the
was
most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
I do like Nickel a lot, and I welcome this discourse because Kane's Insight has been pretty regular with putting out his highlights. And look, we don't put out bad highlights, but there's a lot in this guy's game to like. Yeah, he's got talent around him. That certainly helps. I love that he's never really wavered with his commitment whatsoever. Certainly reps the U with a lot of confidence and bravado. And while he's throwing to open receivers, he's making the throws. And the highlight that you guys highlighted a couple of days ago, that's straight up a Cam Ward play. That was Cam Ward in Gainesville. And that translates. No, there wasn't separation there. That was a playmaker making a play with his arms, with his legs. A lot to like here. I really hope, I know college football is all screwy and you get yourself all excited about a freshman coming in. Can't wait to see him in 3 years. And that's not the nature of the beast. But I really hope for the day that I get to see this quarterback line up under center for Miami, because I have been really excited watching his highlights.
Yeah, then you wonder how long it's going to take, right? Because you watched the game yesterday, and Pete, you had the stats up. He had one incompletion. I believe it was 21 for 22. He had well over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. He ran the ball. Like I said, I mean, I said the Tebow comparison, not in jest, but I'm not saying he's going to be like that kind of
Tebow
runner.
couldn't do that highlight that you guys dropped. That came more.
Oh, no, the throw he could. I'm not saying he's going to run like that, obviously, but they do call inside runs for nickel, which he uses his balance and his leg strength to break tackles, which is what Tebow did so well. And the announcer, the analyst, if you watch that game, did about 5 Tebow comparisons. Pete was laughing at me about it. But here you go.
And I still am.
This throw that they just showed here on this highlight, it doesn't do justice to how good this was. The guy was standing right in the passing lane, and he kind of just manipulated him away and then threw it over the top. It was a really unusual throw when you see from the angle, the TV angle that he just made. He's just a playmaker. He could move guys with his eyes. He plays at a very advanced level for a high school player. He's big enough for college. He's, he's about 220 almost by the time he gets through with his workouts, that he'll be in that.
That's a big kid.
Definitely, he's got size. He's accurate, as you see here. Pinpoint pass to wide receiver that's actually going to the University of Georgia. His receiving core is loaded.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Georgia guys. He has a tight end going to Georgia and a tight end is going to Auburn. 2 tight ends going big time schools. But he was the best player on the field. You can't watch that game and not say Luke Nickel was the best player at the highest level of Georgia football. I don't know what Georgia's doing at quarterback, but seeing some of the quarterbacks they've been putting out lately, I can't imagine that they feel good about letting this guy leave the state, because he was absolutely unbelievable. And I'm not saying he's going to be the quarterback for Miami next year, because I think Miami wants a more experienced guy in a perfect world. But if you're asking me, is this guy capable of playing at University of Miami as a true freshman with a good offensive line around him? I would say, based on what I've seen in the playoffs, 100% unequivocally, yes, this guy can play as a true freshman. We've seen true freshmen start all around college football. The circumstances are good in front of him. You saw Brad Kaya, when he had a good offensive line in front of him, lead the ACC in touchdown passes. And that was as a late enrollee. This guy's getting in here early. I think he could play right. If you need him to, he could play right away. And if you have an open competition with Emory, I would not sleep. And with Judd Anderson as well, I would not sleep on Luke Nickel.
He also looks like he has a skill set that's pretty multifaceted. You add the running to it. He looks like he can get rid of the ball quickly. Keep in mind, that's really Shannon Dawson's offense.
Yep.
He wants to get rid of the ball quickly. What did Cam Ward do? Not really do that. Like, he hung on to the ball, wanted to make plays, and Nickel gave you one of those plays that looked a lot like Cam Ward. So if you have a guy that can do either of those two things, you have probably a prospect that Shannon Dawson loves and knows that either way, I can fit him into this offense quite nicely.
Yeah, Shannon Dawson, there was a big story with Bruce Feldman about how Shannon Dawson evaluates quarterbacks. He was the first one to offer Stetson Bennett at Southern Miss. Stetson Bennett ended up going JUCO, walking on the whole journey to then going to Georgia and winning the national championships. And then, of course, Mac Jones, he was the first one to offer Mac Jones in Southern Miss when Mac Jones was in Jacksonville. He ends up getting offered by Kentucky, then ultimately Alabama, and does everything he does. But Dawson was at the ground level on both of those quarterbacks. I see some of that here with Nickel, the accuracy, the moxie, the leadership. I just didn't know he was as athletic as he is. Just if you're looking at from the beginning of the evaluation as a junior to what I see now, the athleticism is much more than I anticipated with Luke Nickel. He's got size. He's
220, 226 at 18 years old is wild. That is a built out dude.
Yeah, he's going to be fine in that respect. He takes contact well as a runner. This is big time Georgia football. I think this guy can play early. Very encouraged by what we saw here yesterday.
I hope he's a good player for the University of Miami, but I see that guy's tape, and I'm like, that guy is going to be a big time college football quarterback somewhere big. Hopefully it's here.
Yes, sir. What else you got for us, Pete? What's on the agenda today? We got 1,700 plus, by the way, on the show.
Portal gets you guys more riled up than an undefeated football team. It's a little puzzling to me, but I guess I understand why it's such a fascinating thing. And who knows if it's ever going to look like this again. This is certainly, from what I'm hearing, the most bonkers portal yet. And we haven't even kicked off the playoff game. Once teams start getting eliminated, there's a whole new world.
I was always thinking that the reason that this Wednesday show is getting the renewed numbers it is because of, your physical fitness and your youthful exuberance.
This kind of makes me feel great.
You can't tell him anything.
Well, look at we got David France.
Well, I didn't really tell him. I mean, he noticed.
So there you go.
Made me feel good.
David France came to Kane's Insight when Mike came aboard. Didn't know what I was missing. Love the show, guys. David, we appreciate you. That's why we do it here. And he's got the guitar. Drop in the comments. Let us know your band or whatever you're doing with the guitar, because we'll shout it out unless it's wildly inappropriate.
Yeah.
In which case, I'll probably still shout it out, not knowing that it's inappropriate. And Mike will then remind me.
So we always run that risk. All right. So we've hit the headlines. You touched on Singleton. I know the latest NACO's rumor was he was leaning more to Auburn. Rivers did his visit, did not commit to Miami. I know Miami's still in that game. What else can you tell me? What haven't we hit on?
Well, one thing I want to correct is I saw that Kane Sport did an article about CJ Daniels' commitment, and CJ Daniels said, I went to practice, Emory looked good. I know you've reported, which I backed that reporting up, that a lot of people like Emory. Teammates, coaches, there's a lot
Our
of
offensive coordinator loves Emory. Loves. Let me say that again into the camera. Guys, the guy that runs this offense loves Emory Williams. A lot of you, if Mattier takes a boatload of money and follows his offensive coordinator to Oklahoma, a lot of you are going to feel like this is a losing proposition for Miami and a disappointment. May I tell you and implore you, rest easy, because the offensive coordinator has full confidence in Emory Williams. More than, admittedly, I have. Yeah. More than D-Money has.
Right.
More than other people have. But I can tell you, no one is a bigger Emory Williams guy than our offensive coordinator right now, and he has more information than everybody.
And players, by the way, I should shout it out because it just came out. Storm Sessions did an interview with Mark Fletcher. This is the show I do, the sit-down interview, trying to do it Roy Firestone style. Miami Beach High grad, by the way, big Canes fan.
Great kid.
Wait, Roy Firestone?
No, I was talking about Mark Fletcher.
Oh, yeah. He's a great kid, too.
Yeah.
So his son's in our Onions chat.
Yeah, he's in our college basketball chat. I don't know him much, but like him so far.
He's a great kid, too.
So, by the way, I do this every week, sit down with a UM student athlete for the UM official channel. It's there at the Heck building. Really appreciate everybody checking that out, doing the like and subscribe there, too, if you're not already subscribing to the official UM channel.
Like and subscribe this one first.
So, Fletcher, we've interviewed a bunch of kids. Fletcher, man, he is just awesome. You talking to him, you could see why he is such a positive figure on this team, someone that everybody looks to, someone that they rallied around, obviously going through the adversity, losing his father. Awesome interview. Probably my favorite interview that we've done yet on Storm Sessions. So check that out. Just dropped today on YouTube. I forgot what made me seg to that. But
I met him briefly when he had just committed to Miami, and I know how important he was and Ruben Bain was in terms of instituting a culture. Keep in mind what we experienced Mario Cristobal year one. We thought it was going to go better. We realized the culture fit from him and the previous regime and the kids that they recruited, they weren't aligned. So after that first season, it was hugely important to Mario Cristobal to get guys that weren't just dudes, but also could help be pillars of building out a culture here at Miami. And you spend 5 minutes with Mark Fletcher, you already know this guy is a leader. This guy demands your respect. And this guy will be a really productive leader inside that locker room for years to come. And so far, he has delivered across the board. We were worried about which Mark Fletcher we would get this year. He played an entire season healthy, came back from an injury. We were worried about the feet, especially the way that he went down, which was seemingly non-contact. We were all a little panicked, and then hit the ground running literally in Gainesville and was our best running back in terms of form, our most dependable guy. throughout the season. A really special kid, and I'm so happy he's a Miami Hurricane.
Couldn't agree more. Building block player, and he loves Emory. That's what made me trigger in my brain that I did that interview. He loves Emory. Cam Ward loves Emory. A lot of big time players on offense believe in Emory. Mohammed Hussein asking, appreciate all your support always. Is Nickel an early enrollee? Yes, he is. So he'll be here in January. Pretty much the whole offense is going to be here early. So the big offensive class, I think there's a lot of early contributors in that offensive class. You mentioned Mally Tony, who I think will actually be later because American Heritage doesn't let you graduate early, but he'll come in ready to play as well, as those Heritage guys often do. So what I was talking about Emory and CJ Daniels said, I was at practice. I liked what Emory was doing. People took that as, oh, that means we're not going after portal guys. We're only going after, we're going to ride with Emory. I think what people like CJ Daniels are doing that have to commit, they're saying, listen, I feel good with Emory if I go to Miami, and if they get a John Mattier or someone playing in the playoff or whoever, that's fine too. But I feel good with Emory Williams that at least there's a guy in the house, in the building that can throw me the ball. So that's why CJ Daniels, when you read the whole story, that's why CJ Daniels said that. But I got like 10 texts with that headline. People freaking out that, oh, we're out of the portal market. No, we're not out of the portal market, but you got to sell Emory because if there's no portal quarterback, he's going to be throwing it to CJ Daniels. And CJ Daniels, with his own eyes, saw practice and said, this guy can get me the ball. So that's a positive thing. I wouldn't read that as a negative for all those who did.
Yeah, I understand. We're kind of talking out of both sides of our mouth because we're hyping up Emory and we're also lusting over who John Mattier is following on Instagram. That is the nature of big-time college football. Mario Cristobal and the staff is doing exactly what a program that was just outside the CFP should be doing, which is evaluating the roster, see if you can make some upgrades, see if you can keep this momentum going. This is not an indictment on Emory Williams. Emory Williams is well-liked, well-respected, and I can tell you the list of people that you would even consider jeopardizing relationship with Emory Williams for is very, very short. We know about Mattier. There's some quarterbacks that you can maybe make that exception for that are featuring in the college football playoff now. That is not, again, an indictment on Emory Williams. You, Hurricanes fans, I know it was against lesser competition, but you guys saw Emory looked different this year, and that's pretty damn good considering in his freshman year, he beat Clemson and was within a touchdown of FSU when FSU was riding high with Jordan Travis and being undefeated. This guy's got moxie. This guy's got leadership skills. He gets rid of the ball quick. The offense would look different, but that doesn't mean the offense would be worse. Cam Ward is a special type of player. It's a double-edged sword sometimes. We know there's some puzzling interceptions and there's some plays that only he can make. He maximized Miami's talent on the roster. He was a right quarterback at the right time. But as this team continues to develop, you keep sacking classes. We've seen it time and time again. Peyton Manning to T. Martin. We've seen generational quarterbacks that you wonder how is a program going to dig themselves out of this, and the machine keeps going. And I have full confidence that the machine can keep going with Emory, provided, there's a big qualifier, we do like what we did today, which is keep adding to this roster, because while he's not a game breaker, he's going to need some talent around him to help break some games open, and I think it underscores upgrading at the wide receiver position and getting him some more weapons.
Comment here from Muhammad Hussein asking, is our OC Shannon Dawson staying? And look, you guys obviously chime in. But
you're the most plugged in on this.
Yeah,
I can tell you that there is something out there about him going to the New York Giants that is totally made up. Well, that was totally made up.
Well, what I was going to say is this: people in the building are operating as if he's staying, right? I know obviously there were some opportunities talked about within the last month or so that have been filled, and the carousel was closed for a little bit, so to speak. It's been reopened now with this Wake Forest, Dave Clawson stepping down, Washington State head coach Jake Dickert going over there. So the carousel's back open. But as of right now, I don't, based on what I've been told, he's operating like he's going to be here next season.
I think he's going to be here next season just because I know the jobs that he's kind of turned down. And while there's some jobs opening right now, I don't necessarily see it as a fit. Like Wake Forest, yeah, it's in the ACC, and maybe that's enough, but that isn't a great situation right now. Like, how is Wake Forest going to compete? They're dying for this rev share to come in because that's probably their only way. And that might be the plan, and it's probably a place to watch. But
well, they just hired Washington State's head coach.
Okay,
so that
well,
one's filled.
there you go.
Washington State. So that's the interesting situation that we were talking
No
about
computer.
earlier with the Ben Arbuckle.
Yeah,
the former OC over there. Could he be the head guy over there?
So I think Dawson stays. Just because I know Dawson has been toeing the line that he's not just going to take any job. And while I usually meet that with skepticism because of the point that I made previously, which is you hear a pitch from somebody willing to pay you more money than you've ever seen in your life, and you're the central focus of their big plan to turn things around, that plays to people's ego. He's been able to hear those pitches and keep on moving because he knows he's in a really good place. If Dawson shows that he can replicate what he did last year with yet another quarterback, then we're not talking about this level job around Shannon Dawson. I think everybody knows there's a ceiling, all right? The high end of his ceiling right now was maybe finishing 4th in a UCF coaching search right now. Maybe some other team gets desperate. Maybe he decides it's my time right now. I'm going to act right now. But I think if Dawson puts up yet another really good season with this offense with a different quarterback, then you're talking about like a Sarkisian level type of candidate for college football programs. And that might be too good to pass up. Now, with a transfer portal, who knows? Maybe things don't break the right way. Maybe there's so many variables that go into this right now. But the key one for me as it pertains to Shannon Dawson is the jobs that are available right now are nearly as good as the jobs that were available to him a couple of weeks ago. And we went through that. We navigated it, and Shannon Dawson is still here.
Yep. We got comments here in the chat. Someone's saying there's a good and a bad side to Cam Ward. And only separation, saying that narrative is whack and corny coming from Canes fans. I agree. Look, if Cam Ward had eligibility, we'd take him back every single year forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree that it's a different team without him, and like not all of it is negative. You adjust to what you have, and we could build a team that doesn't involve Cam Ward that could potentially be better, even though Cam Ward makes us a better team by his presence because he's the best quarterback in the nation and probably the best quarterback we've seen in our Canes lifetime. So it's a balance.
Cam Ward is a great player. He was a unicorn at the position for Miami. We had a Miami Hurricane at the Heisman Trophy ceremony. That's pretty damn cool. I'm not knocking Cam Ward. There are aspects of his game that you'd be lying through your teeth if you told me, no, he doesn't frustrate me at all. Like, we know the deal with Cam Ward. He's a special, gifted player. But also, let me cite an example of where the identity of this team really leaned into Cam's strengths. If you had a different quarterback, and that quarterback goes up 21-0 at Syracuse, you're not so infatuated with the weapon that you have. Look, it's my hot take, and I said this on Lebertard's show. Everybody made a big deal about how does Mario Cristobal not give Cam Ward the opportunity at the end of that game to have a Heisman moment and to tie that game against Syracuse. Did you not watch the rest of that game? Because I feel like we spent the entirety of that game once we went up 21-0 trying to win Cam Ward a Heisman instead of feeding a running back that was averaging 6 yards a carry. So, yeah, there is a good and a bad side. And sometimes you can fall way too in love with what brought you to the dance. And too many times at the end of the season, we turned to number one and said, save us. And he was there to do so when all we needed against Syracuse was 6 yards per carry.
Yeah, look at Tennessee. I mean, I'm stealing this example from Kevin Clark, who may have been sarcastic when he said it. It's hard to tell with him, although I believe him earnestly. He used the example of T. Martin and Peyton Manning, right? So no one's going to say T. Martin was anywhere near Peyton Manning as a quarterback, right? But Tennessee won their national championship with T. Martin, not Peyton Manning. So just because you lose a player that is legendary and rare and just doesn't happen every single year, doesn't mean you cannot improve as a team, right? It's not as simple as just the sum of the parts where you say, okay, take away the best player by far and the team gets worse. There's other ways you can get better as a team, even though you're fully acknowledging that this guy was a legend, is the best thing that happened to Miami football in 20 years. So both things can be true. So,
I think we will look at Cam Ward so fondly as a player that hopefully, knock on wood, turned this program around. I mean, totally nuked the narrative surrounding our head coach, which was quarterback killer. Well, why would any quarterback go over there? Well, I'll go over there because I'll set every record in the book if I go to Mario Cristobal's program right now. So Cam Ward is a hugely pivotal player. It's a damn shame he's not in the college football playoff. It's absurd beyond belief that he finished behind Dylan Gabriel in the Heisman Trophy. Like, look, every argument that I ever heard about this, it was asinine. Look, Travis Hunter, let's put that off to the side, worthy Heisman winner. But the hot take was Genty should be the Heisman Trophy winner. And the argument would be, they game planned for him, and he still got his. Nobody was able to stop him. Set all sorts of records. Well, that's great. Guess who else game planned for him? We're never able to stop. At the game's most important position, quarterback. Nobody stopped Cam Ward. You can isolate, he wasn't all that great compared to what he had done up against Georgia Tech. He just had fewer drives. That's all that was right there. Cam Ward never got stopped. An entire season being unstoppable. If you're arguing for Genty, you're trying to be some stupid little hipster that wants to ignore what Cam Ward did, because every single one of your arguments applied to that quarterback over there who went an entire season without being stopped.
Did you just call Chase Romero a little hipster?
He's a little hipster. All these people want to be cute. Look, did you see the photo of the four of them standing next to one another? That's not P4 size. Let's be real about this. If you want to say that Genty, who is a phenomenal player and is going to establish all sorts of records now that those count in the college football playoff, I don't want to take anything away from him. But people are taking things away from Cam when they tout the biggest feature, which is they never stopped him. They tried to, they game planned all around them. They were game planning for Cam Ward. Nobody stopped him. And Cam Ward was playing much tougher competition.
The Gabriel one, I think
asinine.
If they could trade Cam Ward, get Cam Ward and trade Gabriel like December 18th as they get ready to play the playoffs, they'd be like, all right, well, we got a week. We got to buy. Look at Cam Ward in there. See you, Dylan Gabriel. Have fun in Hawaii, and we'll roll with him. I mean, there's no one on the planet that believes that Dylan Gabriel is a better quarterback than Cam Ward. Statistically, impact on wins, talent-wise, I don't see any one thing that Dylan Gabriel does better than Cam Ward except maybe throw lefty. Other than that, I'm not sure one attribute that you put Dylan Gabriel.
And I would say give Cam time. I mean, we were, who knows? If that game went into overtime, he might have tried something, which just speaks to his general recklessness. But come on, man. Dylan Gabriel, that was a record thing. Some of this stuff was just so lazy. Like the thing that really chapped my butt was they game planned around him and they were never able to stop him. A guy's wearing number 1 over there that hadn't been stopped all year long. Seriously, who stopped him?
No.
You know who stopped Cam Ward the most? Georgia Tech's offense. That's who stopped Cam Ward this season. There wasn't a single defense. The game plan for him for an entire week. There wasn't a single defense that stopped him.
Yeah, I mean, look at his game log. He didn't have a bad game.
No, he just had games where he had fewer touches.
He did not. It's the consistency we had with Cam Ward as you look at it here. I mean, so if you say his worst game was GT, which I think a lot of people say that, 25 for 39, 348 yards, 64%, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, quarterback rating 164. So that's pretty good.
It's a pretty good bad game. That sounds like an amazing Dylan Gabriel game.
Right.
That sounds like one of Dylan Gabriel's best games of the season.
Oh, yeah. So that whole thing, the Heisman, it was fun. It was fun to be in that game, see the Miami logo up there. But yeah, they still got some process to work out. I think Travis Hunter deserved to win, my personal opinion. I think he's the best player in the country. He reminds me of Ohtani just because not only doing things that no one's done, he also just has that kind of mindset. He didn't even know who Lil Wayne was until his girlfriend put him on. You see that?
Yeah. I like Travis Hunter a lot, and I thought it was a great speech. And it speaks to the value, speaks to how important it is to find the right mentor for you. I thought that was a very good day for Coach Prime. And look, Coach Prime sold him on a vision when he decided to embarrass FSU on signing day. And that is, outside of no college football playoff, an amazing story for Travis Hunter. He found his mentor. That mentor delivered exactly what he told him. I thought it was great, authentic, real. That was a real cool moment. But Cam Ward, for my money, should have been number 2 and should have been 4 and certainly shouldn't be in any world finishing behind Dylan Gabriel at anything.
Well, hold on. So Crazy Leg says Hunter having Ohtani status is a stretch. I mean, no one's done what Hunter's doing since when?
It is a stretch in that Ohtani didn't pitch last year.
Well,
so he was just a one-way player.
I just think
so the comparisons are actually not accurate because Travis Hunter does more.
Well, I mean, Otani's the best baseball player in the history.
You're a big Ohtani
in the
guy. I'm
history
needling you a little
baseball.
bit.
But I think it's a single-mindedness on top of the athleticism, because people, one thing that bothers me with Ohtani is the same thing that bothers me with Hunter, is people say these guys, they like with Ohtani, instead of just saying he's the best baseball player of all time, they say he's the most talented baseball player of all time, as if the guy doesn't work on baseball literally every second of the day, which is how Hunter is. The guy's so obsessed with football, he has no idea of the outside world. He's blowing up now because everybody's getting on him about his girlfriend because he's so locked in on football.
Do you believe that? Like, he's always on Twitch. He knows, he's pretty in tune with what's going on, at least on his Twitch channel. I
don't know. I mean, I believe it. He doesn't seem to me. To do what he does requires so much focus. It's like Ohtani. So everybody thought Ohtani was betting on college soccer. He didn't have time. He's trying to pitch and hit at the same time. That's probably why the guy was able to steal $15 million from him.
D-Money being a hipster, Babe Ruth.
I
was going to say Jim Thorpe too, man.
Yeah, so you got to go back all that time to get into this point. So
you can't say no one's ever done it before that.
But I can say one thing that Babe Ruth never did, and that was hit against a Dominican pitcher.
Well, I mean, white people are pretty good at pitching. All right. I don't buy that whole argument. There's 9 teams in the league. If you gave me 9 teams of the best white players in baseball, they would be a pretty good pitching staffs right now.
It wasn't going up against Pedro Martinez. I'll tell you that.
I mean, who won the Cy Young this year? Let's see. Who won the Cy Young this year? I should know this. My son will kill me for not knowing this off the top of my head.
You may
want Tariq Skubal and Chris Sale. Tariq Skubal, I believe, is from the West Coast.
I would love to see Babe Ruth try to hit Skubal.
Well, no, he wouldn't. You would put him in a time machine and make it.
I would love to see him try to.
So Babe Ruth swung a heavy bat. So obviously, with the fast pitches that are coming in now, he'd have to have a lighter bat, because the bat that he was swinging was tailored to.
He'd be out of the bigs, because it's going to take him an entire season to figure that out.
Yeah, you can't put him in a time machine. If you put him on the Mike Ryan fitness diet and you give him proper training, the guy.
5th reference this show.
Yeah. The guy is going to be.
Well, you know what else you can't put on a time machine to go face Babe Ruth? A Dominican, because they would make sure that guy got arrested immediately and taken off the diamond because he wasn't allowed to be.
Dominicans respect the game. You ask them about Babe Ruth, they're going to say he's a legend. It's the best players are the best players of their time.
I don't know. This one's like pretty easy. You're Latino. You're a Hispanic dude. Like, I don't know. What are you caping up for? Segregation?
I'm not caping up. I'm saying you don't throw away the accomplishments of Babe Ruth just because there's other great players in the game.
I'm not throwing them away. I'm just providing context.
If there was a white player in 2024 that was hitting more home runs than every other white player combined, he'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
No matter who's throwing it to him.
Well, because he's getting the best of the best.
Huh?
Because he's getting the best competition.
Yeah.
He's not just getting the best white pitchers. He's getting, the very best of the best.
There are 30 teams now, where there used to be a lot less teams, and the 30 teams are stocked with players from across the world, including Ohtani, who I'm saying the Japanese guy's the best player of all time. So I'm not.
I mean, Babe Ruth was hitting off guys named Chalky.
What's wrong with Chalky? What's wrong with Chalky?
They had names like Two Toes Johnson. Like,
Tariq Skubal won the Cy Young. If his name was Two Toes Tariq Skubal, he'd Screwball. He'd be. There's no reason why there wouldn't be Skewballs back then. We haven't evolved as a species in 100 years.
We have.
Like evolution, evolution works.
Yeah.
Aren't you Mr. Science?
Yeah.
Aren't you Mr. Trust the Science?
Yes.
Evolved in 100 years.
I've never seen anything in my life like Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, put Victor Wembanyama against Will. I don't know if he can hold up.
Bill Russell was smaller than LeBron James.
Bill Russell was a modern center before that even was a thing, running up and down the court with the fast break. Will Chamberlain was 7'1", winning high jump competitions with size. I met Will Chamberlain at a Heat game. The guy was way stronger than Wembanyama. He would toss around Wembanyama. The best players in the NBA right now are fat and white, and you're out here talking about white guys. The best players in the NBA right now are fat and white, and you're out here talking about that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Joker and Doncic. Yeah. They're not American, though.
What are we even talking about?
They're not American, though, so I'm not even sure they would be allowed. I'm not sure they would have been allowed in the majors.
So Ryder Boy saying this is quite a tangent. Travis Hunter. Anyways, Travis Hunter deserved the Heisman and seems like a great guy who cares about football quite a bit. And I would love to have him on the Hurricanes. We got Bill Russell. I don't even know what the comments are going on right now. But listen,
Bill Russell actually feasted off of what Babe Ruth was able to feast off of.
I would say, honestly, being real, the two positions that I think, because look, the Babe Ruth thing, training has changed. The game has changed.
You
couldn't just put him in a
literally
time
asked me
machine.
how have athletes evolved, and Babe Ruth is just going into the batter's box with a stogie.
I would say two positions that have not, to me, there's three positions that have not improved. Meaning, I think you could literally take these guys in a time machine and they'd be better than what we have right now. Three
Okay.
positions.
All right.
NBA center. I mean, you're talking. Will Chamberlain is physically better than anybody in the NBA right now.
Mhm.
You could put him in a time machine. There were other 7-footers too that in that era that were pretty good.
Right, but what is he going to do against like a Chris Bosh that decides to take it out to
Completely destroy him.
He's going to be like, "What's that line out there? I don't need. What is that line?"
Will Chamberlain is way stronger than Chris Bosh and more athletic. He killed Chris Bosh. He's
Chris
taller
Bosh
as well.
was
And I
pretty
love
strong.
Chris Bosh. But that's one position. Heavyweight boxer, because all the good
No doubt.
heavyweights are playing football. And then I'll say NFL running back. I mean, if you look at Jim Brown and O.J. Simpson is way better than Ashton Jeanty. You can't even compare OJ. You put OJ Simpson next to Ashton Jeanty, they're not even the same universe
You
as
could
far
have
as
picked
physical
like
talents.
literally anybody. There were so many great running backs. You didn't have to focus in on OJ. You've
6'2".
already been pro segregation. Now we're gonna this.
6'2", 230. The guy, you saw how big he was when he was on trial. The guy was a giant.
Yeah,
He was the fastest player in the league at that time.
Huge
he was a
melon
sprinter.
head.
Yeah, he's
his
big.
head
That's what I'm
was
saying. He's big.
gigantic.
So I'm saying, and he was very athlete. He had great lateral quickness. He was a sprinter.
Barry Sanders.
Ran for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season.
Pete, let's play a game. Can you name a great running back that wasn't accused of murder?
Earl Campbell.
There you go.
Okay.
See, it's not hard.
Well, Jim Brown, another one.
He was. I mean,
He's
yeah,
only
a little,
moderately canceled.
little dicey, but
Same thing though. Jim Brown, 6'2", 230, fastest guy in the league at that time, tough as nails. You put Jim Brown now in this league, and put him next to Jeanty. Jeanty looks like a fan next to these guys. So those are some positions I think have not gone better. Now I will say Travis Hunter is a better athlete than like Crazy Legs Hirsch or someone like that.
see, those are
Dennis
the nicknames.
Lopez says Mattier just followed Otani. He's watching the pod. Confirmed.
My guy. Let's go. All right. So switching gears to something more appropriate for Canes football, which is
Have we heard anything on Mendoza? That was hot and heavy a couple of days ago, but that's cool. There's
I'm all in for it, but I was actually telling that to D this morning that I'm kind of frustrated.
is
I
it
haven't
the
gone.
Georgia stuff true that Georgia's interested in Mendoza?
I've heard they are, but I think it's gonna be Indiana.
I have a hot take, and I'm sure he's like shooting a little higher than this, but I think if I'm Bill Belichick, I take a look at Mendoza. I think that would be a good fit, considering all the Tom Brady comps that you've had in our private in our private group chat.
Bill Belichick's too busy taking centers from Holy Cross. So
That was
let
a
him
sad
do it.
picture.
Well, Bill Belichick still thinks that Tom Brady, he thought Tom Brady was washed. Tom Brady went to Endemuna, Florida, winning a Super Bowl and is currently ripped. Have you seen the pictures of Brady?
Yeah.
Looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's what Florida does to you.
How does he keep his hair so dark?
Yeah, he's there's a lot going on with Brady there in that respect. But Belichick thought Brady was washed, obviously wrong on that. Now he still thinks that his genius is what's making these lacrosse players and all these guys good. So he's getting centers from Holy Cross instead of trying to get a quarterback like Mendoza, to your point, Pete. So we'll see.
That was Mike.
We'll see how they do. Anyways, so
You working out?
I always work out.
let's keep this thing on the rails here, talking about local Florida professional wrestling. Give me your wrestler of the week, Mike. A friend of the show.
Yeah, CCW. Make sure to check their website and follow this wrestler, Domino. Domino is a great story because I happen to know Domino was a lifelong wrestling fan, really was his passion. And at a stage where most people would say, I'm not going to try that right now, he decided to go for it, chase a dream, got trained, and got over immediately with this local passionate wrestling fan base down here. He's been on the cover of the Miami Herald, salt of the earth guy, but I truly admire what he did because that's very brave to say in your 30s, you know what I think I'm going to do? Try my hand at being a professional wrestler. And he's taken to it like a fish to water. He's got his ardent domination fans. Certainly, for my money, the most over wrestler in his promotion right now. Great guy. Really a big entertainer. You don't really see just like the white bread babyface get over all that much. And then Cody did it and it opened up this whole portal. This guy reps Miami hard. Great promos. Love his work. And I couldn't be happier for him because that dude really put himself out there, bet on himself, and week in and week out, He's wrestling local shows, putting on good matches, has a championship around his waist right now, and is certainly my favorite local wrestler. So I wanted to give him his flowers and make sure to support him and all the local indie wrestling shows. Great time. Short, like a wonderful, fun date night weekend. You'd be surprised at how much fun you'd have by just taking your date to a brewery and watching guys put their bodies on the line and try to entertain a crowd like that. And Domino, I tip my hat to you.
He's got Momino in the crowd too.
Momino,
sometimes.
she's a liability. she like, I'm pretty sure she thinks it's real. I'm dead serious. I sat next to her at a show and she hates these people that decide to trifle with Domino. She's spilling beers. Like, it's crazy. Go come for Domino, stay for Momino.
You got the El Rey de la Frita shirt on. I'm sure he's an Islas Canarias fan. So shout out to Domino, a local wrestler and the wrestler of the week. That belt looks great, but it was like the old tag team championship.
Southeastern Championship,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. I had an up close look at it actually today. I ran into Domino.
Was he wearing the belt? Like
he was,
walking
he was
around
just
town?
crossing the street and he was wearing the belt. I'm like, hey, are you Domino? He's like, yeah, check out this belt. I'm like, is that an FIU Panther on it? What's the deal there?
Yeah, well, trained by Gangrel, by the way. Kane's Insight subscriber and former WWF at the time WWE great and a former vampire as well.
Yeah.
Now
I don't think he's a former vampire.
He's still a vampire?
I think he's always been a vampire. Edge and Christian, former vampires, reformed vampires. Gangrel's still fanging and banging.
Still fanging and banging. It's right. So I'm taking it back. This is both a blast of the past and also a reference to something that just happened, which is Jesse the Body Ventura, who just came back to the WWE, was the announcer on Saturday night's main event this past Saturday at NBC. Still got it, man. He was unbelievable, bringing that true heel persona to the mic. It just doesn't go away, man. The guy still got it. He's another one. We had Sergeant Slaughter last week. He had his own stolen valor issue with a Navy SEAL, but apparently he was kind of a Navy SEAL. There's like different categories. There's like underwater demolition teams and Navy SEALs, and whether they're in the same category is a big controversy. Any SEALs in the chat, let us know if you understand what
Certainly
I'm
had
talking
more
about.
bona fides than Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, definitely more than Slaughter. Also was the first WWE Hall of Famer to really break into the politics, right? So like paving the way for Kane and others that became politicians after Jesse the Body Ventura was the governor of Minnesota. Ain't got time to bleed. One of the iconic lines in movie history, I will say. And just an awesome entertainer. I hope he stays in wrestling because I don't know what else he's got going on these days. So just a stud, man.
It was great nostalgia watching him on Saturday night's main event. Yeah, there was some like, okay, he's still got the same act. How is this going to age? And then I thought he really shined in the main event where he was calling the action and he was playing his heel persona. And you see people kind of flirt with it, and no one's ever been as good as Jesse Ventura or Bobby Heenan at it. And he's like, man, this guy's making really good points about Kevin Owens right now. Like, wait, is Cody the bad guy here? Is this planned? Is Triple H pissed in the back because Jesse Ventura is making some pretty sound points right now about Cody's fallibilities? But I thought he really shined there, and it was great nostalgia to see him. And he's doing some dad jokes and stuff like that. Timing was a little off, but I'm sure that'll get refined over time. And I hope that they keep that nostalgia act. I know that some people were a little disappointed with that card. For me, it was a nostalgia play, and I enjoyed the nostalgia the entire way through. And for me, the best part was me not knowing whether or not Jesse Ventura was sticking to a script or just causing chaos and doing whatever he wanted there. And that's the fun of it.
Shout out to Jesse the Body. Football talk over. GA Kane. Is football talk over?
Is this your first time?
We got over 2,000. I'm gonna keep you here.
What's the latest on? Look, I'll tell you what, Pete. Sprinkle in the latest Mattier facts that you have just to keep the football diehards like satiated.
Let me
give
Pete's digging. I'm gonna give you some.
Scrape.
I'm gonna give you some rotational defensive lineman news. UCF defensive tackle Matthew Alexander, reported by 247, visiting Miami right now. He has a career high 18 tackles and 4 TFLs in 2024, 6'3", 295, 3-year rotational defensive lineman, appeared in 39 games, started 5, visiting. This is what we call a 105 player. Now we have the scholarships expanded to 105. You're taking guys that are not going to be so expensive, depth pieces that are going to help you field a winning team. And they're not going to cost you too much as you expand the rosters.
I just searched Mattier on Twitter, and this is what came up.
Let's see.
From Rampage Kane, Mattier just started following Navon.
Ghost and Devon Donaldson, is this you? Are you Rampage
Where's
King?
the ghost?
Ra-
Devon Donaldson will always make me laugh. that and Zion Nelson's week to week.
Is that Ghost? Is that you? Did he start following you? Are you Rampage King?
Rampage King.
No,
is the
no.
ghost.
Just started following Kane Farquharson on IG.
You know what? And you know, you said rotational defensive lineman. D. I don't.
Aren't they all rotational at this point?
That's a very derogatory term.
Most of the guys on our defensive line were rotational.
Some would have called Tom Gore that when he left Miami, and he was doing a phenomenal job up there at Georgia Tech this year.
Yeah, but the way that Miami coaches up their defensive line, they have plenty of rotation. So that actually just fits right now, presently.
By the way, well, hold on, wait. I'll tell you what fits real quick.
Well,
what fits nice is apparel from the Miami Hurricane team store, MiamiHTS.com. If you're not local, if you are, it is right across the street from the University of Miami, next to the Thesis Hotel. So if you want to support Miami athletics with the official retail provider, you want to show up to Christmas with gifts and croquetas. You got the croquetas from Islas Canarias. Get the gifts from the Miami Hurricane team store. They got a whole holiday selection. Use promo code INSIDE20. You get 20% off your first item at the team. So they got all kinds of other sales. You got the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Sure, we'll get one of those from Mike. I know he's an enthusiast of that tradition and of the game itself.
Nope.
So the Miami Hurricane team store, MiamiHTS.com. Promo code INSIDE20. Get 20% off.
Can I run that take by you?
You already did.
But we haven't had that discussion here.
I was gonna say it for the week, but you for the week of the game. But go ahead.
Well, I just don't like that it's all fun and games with the Pop-Tart Bowl. And I know I sound like a Scrooge right there, but like I said, if we were a 7 or 8 win team, I'd be all about it. I'd be doing all the Pop-Tart memes. I get it.
Tarting.
I was at the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. Like, I get leaning in, but you know, historically, that tier 2 of bowl games, it meant something. You know, it used to be the Peach Bowl, now it's in the CFP, but it's the Holiday Bowl. It's these bowls with some level of prestige, and this bowl game exists mainly as a marketing device for Pop-Tart, a breakfast pastry, but it's a meme bowl. It leans in harder than anybody, and we have a godforsaken Duke's Mayo Bowl, which I happen to like. But at least that shoots for teams that are like lower in the bowl eligible rankings. This is top 20 CFP ranking teams, and I kind of feel like they're being used just so Pop-Tarts can get jokes over on people. And that's just like, I know I'm defensive, beat Syracuse, you idiot, and you don't have to worry about it. I get all that. I've heard all that. But I think that this is a level for the top ACC team that hasn't made the CFP, that the jokes and making fun of the teams that are in it, it's just, I don't like that as a chaser on my season, dude. I'm just not there for the jokes. I can't, but it's a working toaster and Dan Redikovich bit from the pastry. I don't care. Like, I don't like it one bit. Give me an old white guy in a royal blue blazer and give me a trophy that looks like a football, and let's move on with our day.
It's like Mr. Irrelevant. I get the argument. Mr. Irrelevant. I always thought it was weird that you're the last pick of the draft and they just take you to Disney World to just like make fun of how like crappy you are.
But at least that's something worth making fun of. You know, like this is essentially the 14th pick in the draft, and we're just gonna like have a go at this person. Like it's just weird. Like, okay, if I were North Carolina, like, have fun at my expense. Cool. We're all here for the Pop-Tarts. But it's just, these are two good teams. This is Miami going for an 11-win season, something that hasn't happened in 25 years. And if we win, I got to be embarrassed by like Mario Cristobal waiting and maybe rubbing his hands for a mascot to come down a fake toaster and come out all baked. It's just like dumb to me.
If we win, you're going to be loving all of the tart eating. Guaranteed. We all will. And if we lose and we see Iowa State eating our tart, it's going to be a painful experience.
I honestly hope that we kind of punt on it and don't play ball when they start with all their ridiculousness. Like, because everybody's going to be tuning in for that anyways. They don't need us there, like grifting off of that you and Cam Ward and that head coach. I don't like it. I don't want to see it. Like, if the team is out there celebrating eating a baked mascot, I'm just going to be like, man, I wish I was in the Peach Bowl.
Listen, it's Any publicity is good publicity. I think if you're winning and you're eating the Pop-Tart and people are memeing about it, at least we're in the conversation. We're not irrelevant like we've been at so many times this past year.
We're in the conversation though as a meme, like as a joke. My advice would be like Pop-Tarts just cool it a bit. Like we're coming on way too hot here.
This is the first serious. You did not get serious on this. We've been on here for an hour and 30 minutes. We got over 2,000 listening. Like and subscribe if you're here for
two top 20 teams
for baseball segregation talk, Pop-Tart talk, whatever the hell else we were talking about.
It's 2 top 20 teams. Like this is a really good bowl game. Like the Alamo Bowl isn't pulling this crap.
It's the first time you've been serious. Well, the Alamo Bowl is a solemn bowl.
That's what I want.
About some frontiersmen who were killed defending the state of Texas.
Well, I just want a solemn bowl. Like I said, give me like a bunch of like former sports writers that have been named to a committee, get paid way too much money, go on great tours of all the college football season long, get wined and dined, just hand like a football trophy over to a head coach, and we're on our way. It's too much. It's too much. And I say this as someone that's enjoyed it before, but known that, man, it's kind of messed up. It feels like they're making fun of the teams. This is a big-time bowl game. Do that stuff in like mid-December. Don't do the meme bowls in mid-December. Don't do it with prestige brands that are actually well-ranked, well-respected, just miss the CFP. It's just maybe I'm still hurt by the Syracuse loss. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bad sport, but I really wish if we do win that football game, we let all that nonsense happen and we hold up our trophy and whatever. And that's a great story for Miami, but I'm not excited about just watching a bowl game where Miami's made fun of essentially.
I think college football is about different flavors, right? You have the serious rivalry games.
Don't you dare say strawberry.
You have unfrosted blueberry cinnamon. You have apple currant. You have chocolate peppermint, of course. You have low-fat chocolate fudge. You have simply frosted harvest strawberry.
Give me my song of the week.
You
have it.
Yeah.
You get this one.
Of the week.
Just jump in.
Wild exclamation magic burst. That's what I hope we're eating after we defeat Iowa State in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Give me that wild exclamation point magic burst.
Let's talk about a great act out of the UK, great on the electronic scene, one of the all-time goats from the European dub scene. It's a band, an electronic act called Chase and Status, not Status. You'll be corrected by those across the pond. That's how they say status over there, Status. And this song is featuring a grime rapper by the name of Stormzy of repute. I love Stormzy's stuff. This is a great collaboration. This song absolutely bangs. This is one of my favorite songs of 2024. I put out on my social media platforms my favorite tracks of 2024. Backbone is certainly on there. And hopefully this is a portal for you guys right now to visit this catalog from Chase and Status. I was actually turned on to them. They did a performance on a show called Later with Jules Holland, which is a great show out of the UK where the show host just has a huge sound stage and he invites essentially like 5 different music acts from all sorts of sonic profiles. You'll have Radiohead on one side and like Florence and the Machine on the other, and then a grime rapper like Stormzy and an electronic act like Chase and Status. And it was really bananas to see it. It was a great long running show. And I discovered Chase and Status through that program, and their tracks are just absolute bangers. I'm big into Jungle, which is very UK style dub, and these guys are masters of it. This song bangs harder than most of their songs, and hopefully, like I said, it's a portal for you guys to discover this. Pete, you've been listening to a lot of FIFA tracks, and you've been really surprising me with your wealth of knowledge. You're kind of getting a little eclectic. I implore you to check out Chase and Status because these guys bang.
Now, I'm putting in the chat the link to this playlist. So putting the link in the chat. You can
Is it in the right order?
It's the iTunes is in the right order. The Spotify didn't let me put it in the right order. Actually, it's not letting me post comments. So you put it in there somehow or whatever. Check it out. Just search for Canes Insight.
Yeah.
Search for the Canes Insight podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You'll find it. I'm pretty sure we're the only Canes niche podcast that is doing a music playlist. But search for it there. You did your top 24.
My top
of 2024 playlist.
Yeah, my favorite songs. I don't want to say, even though it's called Best of 2024, I guess that's a little coded because I can't listen to everything. So I'm just out of all the stuff that I've listened to, and I've listened to a lot, these are my favorite tracks of 2024. Follow at Michael Ryan Ruiz on X and Instagram. Put it up there in both Apple Music and Spotify form.
So check that one out. Check out the Canes Insight podcast. We've added the latest from Chase and Status. When did this song come out, by the way? Oh, 2024. Pete, your graphic, unbelievable. You had all the information on the graphic.
I really wish I got to see your graphics today. I came in nude, raw dog,
Look at this
raw
thing.
dog this show.
Look at this thing. Look
Yeah.
at that. You got the album.
It's
You got
fine.
the musical notes.
It was okay.
You
It
had
wasn't-
you had your Twitter header right
Do you
here.
like Stormzy?
You got
I feel
these
like
guys here.
There's a song that I like with him. Yeah.
Who's your favorite grime rapper? I have one, and people just call him Grime because he's from the UK. Giggs. Are you familiar with Giggs? Yeah, great midfielder.
Yeah, I was
for
going to say, I used
Manchester.
to do FIFA back when I used to play.
Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, brothers with
Yeah.
Ryan. No, Giggs had a great album around 2020 that I was just on repeat for me for a full year. So a lot of great music coming out of the UK. This stuff isn't totally marketable to the United States. Jungle's an acquired taste. Dub is an acquired taste. It's not what's really popular here when you talk about electronic dance music, but it has its place in the world. Go on, search and find these guys because they have some bangers.
Central C, as Ghost of Devon Donaldson said, is one of my favorite rappers. So
We got Badadan. Badadan, is that?
Yeah. That's
Smash
one of
Vera.
their songs. Badadan.
Badadan.
727 Kane says, I think we are getting off the topic.
No, this is the topic.
This is the topic. Check out the playlist 727
The,
Kings.
the topic certainly wasn't Pop-Tart Bowl. That was us getting off the topic.
So grime, I'm learning. This is a learning process for me to kind of come into the hip culture.
Yeah.
that
Are you familiar
inhabit.
with jungle? If you hear like the drums, like I can.
the natural habitat.
No, not where you'd find like.
Nas
You
Nas's
sound
brother.
like me.
Nas's brother.
You
Nas's brother.
uncultured swine.
No.
Nas's brother is jungle.
It's a subgenre of dub. It was really good at pop, and honestly, like Calvin Harris dropped an entire like jungle album, and he was doing really creative stuff. And the pandemic hit. It felt like we were percolating, and that music was going to go mainstream. And nightlife died. And so pop culture died. Think about how long The Weeknd was on the Billboard charts. It was on the charts because no one had new places to discover music. There were no music festivals. Clubs weren't open. So pop culture essentially froze for 2 years. And anything that was building momentum like that genre, jungle dub, it just died in its tracks. And those are moments in time that you have to strike. It may never come back.
Ah, man. Well,
It's kind of sad when you think about it.
so the jungle. We're losing the jungle to environmental forces, to technology, and now we're losing the music of jungle to a pandemic.
I have a playlist that's just dedicated to jungle.
What's it called?
Jungle.
Does it have Tarzan Boys?
No, although that's a banger. Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore. I get that on there. Is that
Yeah.
jungle? Does that qualify as jungle? Or is it just about
No,
a jungle?
there's actually a great band called Jungle.
Jungle.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love-
that's what I thought you
yeah.
were talking about.
Yeah, I went with our communications lord to watch Jungle open up for Gorillas, and it was a great show. Shout out SID.
No, don't say his name. Don't give him. Don't give him. Don't give him.
He's listening
joy.
right now.
Communications.
All right, so this, I don't know what you would categorize this music as. I guess you would call it hip hop, but it's really its own style. Some call it G-Funk, and this is Nate Dogg from the album G-Funk Classics Volumes 1 and 2. Release them together, probably knowing that he might not get another shot, so he's got to release all the classics, all the volumes at once, and he did so. Nate Dogg, 1998. This song is called First We Pray, Then We Ride. Remind me of hearing Cam Ward talk about the spiritual aspect of the team.
That sounds like a Jameis Winston pregame speech.
Listen,
So I messed the graphic up. Then I apologize.
why would you mess up the graphic? There's Nate Dogg right there.
It says. It doesn't.
Oh,
say
the song
then
is
we
called
ride.
First We Pray. And
Oh.
parentheses,
Oh.
Then We Ride.
Parenthetically,
That's
Then
how
we
that's how the
ride.
chorus
Okay,
is.
okay.
I can't really sing it, but it's a high note. There's a nice high picture. Nate Dogg singing. There's a high note on the pray. So it's like pray, kind of one of those.
No one
And
had
then
that
we
voice.
ride.
Is Nate Dogg the Tom Brady of hip hop features?
Just in terms of the consistent winning.
No one was better at a hip hop feature than Nate Dogg.
Maybe like a Robert Ory.
He's the Robert Ory of music in that when it comes to features, he's just so much better than he is as a solo artist. So I'm surprised to see you actually go to his solo catalog.
People don't realize, I'm glad you brought this up. People don't realize that Nate Dogg, when given the opportunity to be a solo artist, he could handle it. He could carry an album on his own, not just one G-Funk classic, but 2 volumes of G-Funk classics, 1 album. I put First We Pray, Then We Ride. I could have easily picked, A Dirty Hose Draws Was the Cause of It All, which is more of a ballad, more of a story kind of song. And then The Hardest Man in Town. He had a song with Tupac on there. There are so many classics. Again, there were so many G-Funk classics that you had 2 volumes on one album. But we're going First We Pray, Then We Ride on the Canes Inside playlist.
What is your favorite Nate Dogg feature of all time? The chat will probably be in an all-out brawl because he's got so many of them.
That's a great question. You know, I like Ooh Wee, which is a little later on in his life.
Wow,
that was the one.
You know, what a pull! I was
like
not
that
expecting that. Look, there's going to be a couple of top line ones. The one with Fabulous is really good. Regulators, right? I mean, that's an all-timer. But for me, it is a clean version of Area Codes. Not the dirty, not the dirty version. I've got pros. I've got pros.
It's even worse.
And yeah, but I like that he just said I got pros instead because you couldn't get hose on radio airplay at the time. So hose became pros.
You know, when I heard the initial song, I thought these were just romantic interest, consensual relationships in the different cities. But now we're talking about a commercial relationship with these women in the different cities. The whole song is different.
Well, maybe he's a college football recruiter. Who knows?
That's what you're saying.
Till I Collapse is probably going to get a couple of votes there, especially from Canes fans. That's certainly on everybody's pregame tailgate list. Pete, what's your favorite Nate Dogg track? Is there anything on the Mattier front then? I guess it doesn't look like you're prepared to give me anything on Nate Dogg. How do you not know Nate Dogg?
No,
the guy's got so many
hits. He has
hits.
the thing with Warren G, right?
Yeah. Regulators. Steve Martin also.
All right. So Mattier, not seeing anything. I'm checking on CanesInsight.com.
Wait, what is the chat saying? What's the number one consensus Nate Dogg feature? I'm telling you, he's straight up the greatest hip hop feature ever.
I gotta say, we're getting a lot of Islas Canarias talk. Hey, here we go.
Next episode.
Hold on a second. Hold the phone. We got a comment from someone that we do not.
This was such an opportunity for you to say, "Hold up."
Come on, there you go. That's why you're the pro.
Pros.
I'm just so floored. We got a question here from someone that does not have a personal relationship with me, you, or Peter. We do not know this individual. He is not in any way associated with the University of Miami. His screen name is Ibis Vintage. And he's asking, are the Foo Fighters one of the recent bands, asterisk on recent, who qualify as very popular in the mainstream, but who also rock super hard? One other I can think of is RHCP. Mike Ryan, are you a quote-unquote Foo guy? The money is more Creedy. What do you think?
So I have a hot take on Foo Fighters, and I say this as someone that's seen Foo Fighters multiple times, love their live energy, and think that they have a pretty good catalog. I think they're bigger than their catalog may suggest. They have some really great songs, and this is going to shock many of you because Everlong is one of the most beautiful love rock songs you'll ever hear, expertly written. But Dave Grohl is not a good songwriter. His lyrics are flatly bad sometimes. I mean, think about what we're learning to walk again, learning to talk again. Like, there's just a lot of corny lyrics from Dave Grohl. So his ceiling is really high, but like the floor, it gets down low sometimes listening to them. Now, I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth because all Anthony Kiedis likes to talk about is California, but it works. It's like reggae music. You just put it on and white people will dance. I love Red Hot Chili Peppers. So to me, there's no comparison. Red Hot Chili Peppers are so much better than Foo Fighters. That being said, they're both great arena rock bands. One of the best concerts I've ever been to was a Foo Fighters show. But Dave Grohl, a little overrated when he started pulling back the lyrics on these and thinks, he's closer to Fred Durst than Kurt Cobain in that respect.
Yeah, no, I agree with you totally. Foo Fighters to me is like when Lennox Lewis was or like the Klitschko's were running the heavyweight division. Yeah. The heavyweights were gone, so someone has to have the belt, but they're not heavyweight champ of the world. That's not.
Again, when you make me invoke both Red Hot Chili Peppers and Foo Fighters, and I start taking out Foo Fighters songwriting when one of the lyrics in a Red Hot Chili Peppers song is nong 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 bing nong nong, like it's like, yeah, it's kind of dumb. But I like Red Hot Chili Peppers because they have a genre all to themselves.
Well, hold on. We got a lot of comments here. Pete, get to under control. We got a lot of comments on Nate Dogg. Ryder Boy's got a good one. 21 questions, 50 Cent featuring Nate Dogg. 50 Cent's one of the best hook guys around. So for Nate Dogg to improve that hook and show who the true champion of the hooks is, that's a great one. We got Little Ghetto Boy from Michael Rodriguez. We got Vince Gill, Go Rest High on That Mountain. I don't believe that Nate Dogg was on that one, but I am a fan of that song, Mark. Mark, listen, Mark, we got country on the Kansas side playlist. You got Johnny Paycheck. You got George Jones. We can get some Vince Gill on there.
Have you seen Vince Gill with the Eagles?
Oh, I did not see him live, but I've seen the videos.
I've seen him with the Eagles.
How was he?
I miss Glenn.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah. No, Glenn, man.
Vince is cool, though. Vince is a cool replacement, I guess. I haven't seen them in the Sphere. I'd like to see them in the Sphere. I think I'm going to have to do the Dead and Company thing at the Sphere.
Yeah, you can't lose. You can't lose Glenn and have the Eagles. It's like there's people you just can't lose and have the same band. The Rolling Stones, to me, when you lose Charlie Watts, you can't still be the Stones. There's 3 you couldn't lose. You lost 1. To me, no Stones. AC/DC, I don't think that's around anymore. You know, you just can't. There's certain people you can lose.
I think AC/DC are starting to play shows again.
Eagles, I love Timothy Schmidt. You could lose Timothy Schmidt. He was new at one point too. You could lose Schmidt, but you can't lose Frey.
Yeah. Pete, do you think you can lose Schmidt? Pete?
He's checked out.
I have no idea what we're talking
You had a lot of time to think of a Nate Dogg song. Did you think of one?
I told you the Warren G thing.
Okay.
Michael Quinones. Haven't heard y'all talk R&B. D-Money's definitely an old school R&B listener. Check out the Kansas side playlist.
Who's your favorite contemporary R&B guy?
You bait me on this every single time. How contemporary are we talking?
Like active.
Incarcerated or incarcerated?
Oh, God, no. You already did the O.J. Simpson thing, and we're pro-segregation when we talked about Babe Ruth. Let's pass. I'm sorry. I opened that portal up.
Like and subscribe to the show.
It's a one-way road down the chocolate factory.
Check out the Kansas Side podcast. Check out Storm Sessions with Mark Fletcher. Donate to CanesConnection.com CIS so we can get John Mattier down here. Go Canes.
Go Canes.